I'll just get started. My name is Irene Mendez. I'm the Global Program Specialist here with Rice Global Paris. And I work with preparing students and doing all pre-departure materials for students going to these Paris programs. And this is the information session for urban sustainability. And the instructor is Dr. Guksha Gunal, who I don't know, Guksha, if you want to introduce yourself, and then we'll keep moving.
Sure. Well, thank you for being here and for watching this session. My name is Gökçe Günal, and I'm an associate professor in anthropology. And most of my work looks at how infrastructure and cities transform amid energy and climate change related challenges. And so in that sense, this class is very much very close to my own research agenda, and it's very close to my my interests. So maybe we taught it for the first time last summer, and this is going to be a repeat. So I'm also very excited about that.
And this is going to be during Paris session 4, which is July 21st through August 8th. I'll go ahead and go to just in introductions. And then I think we can talk about the course. I just want to show up the QR code right here. And this takes you directly to the course webpage for this course. And that is basically, it'll take you directly to this shows all of the courses, but it'll take you directly to this webpage, which is the Urban Sustainability site. And this has everything you could ask for. We'll add this Zoom recording here. We'll have the application. We already have the application available here, so you can already even apply now. And just details about the program and details about the course itself. And I think it would be good, Guksha, if you just talked a little bit about the course. I can, oh, sorry, cancel. I can show kind of your previous syllabus here. And then you can talk about that a little bit, and then I can talk about the program information like tuition and things like that.
Sounds good. That's a great plan. Which maybe if you could go down just a little bit, let me just see which version of the syllabus this is. If it has like all the people's names on it and everything.
It just, I think it has the excursions that you did.
Okay.
And
okay, we can go back to the top. Thank you so much.
Is this okay?
So the class is called Environmental Studies 445. So basically it's a designed as a upper level seminar, and it's designed as an environmental studies seminar. Even though I'm an anthropologist, it's going to include texts from history, literary criticism, and science and technology studies in addition to anthropology. And some of the main questions the course asks are listed here in the course objectives. So how can we design equitable cities that respond to contemporary environmental, financial, and political challenges? What kinds of urban ideals do such projects rely on and reproduce? How do we build and maintain the infrastructures that facilitate the lives of human and non-human city residents? So many of the excursions and the readings that we do in the class are going to be ways in which we can find answers to these questions.
Yep, and we can talk a little bit about the excursions that you did last year. And then, that is, we're still figuring out how this year is going to look like. So it may not look exactly the same. But I do love how you did, basically, you had instruction in class, but also you did use Paris as the classroom as well, which I think is really great for this type of material, and Paris specifically, the way that Paris is set up in their infrastructure and how they are such a sustainable city. And so I'd love it if you talked a little bit about that.
Yeah, so maybe I'll do a little bit of like almost like a chronological sort of explanation of it. So we started the class with a visit to the Carnavalet History of Paris Museum, which is basically it's a really it's a great museum that's very close to the center, that's free for us to enter, which covers the history of Paris over the since its founding. And it, I think, allows us to have a kind of like a nice entry point to the city. And then we started asking more specific questions about the city. So for instance, how do parks screen the city in Paris? So there are great texts to read about that based on Paris, but also from elsewhere in the world. And we did an excursion to one of the parks. And actually, and we had a conversation at the park about the readings, but at the same time, we invited someone from the International Energy Agency to come and talk to us a little bit about her work in Paris and beyond, which in a location that was very close to the park. So we tried to combine both a site visit, the reading material, and an analysis of the parks with and sort of like with a guest lecturer who came and reflected on all of those things at once. Then we talked about non-humans in the city. And last summer, there was a great exhibition in Paris on urban nature. And so we extended our sort of visit to the museums by attending this exhibition and learning more about urban nature and the ways it's conceptualized in Paris. And again, the readings both were about Paris itself and history of Paris, but at the same time, learning from other sites in the world to sort of set some comparisons and think across, think internationally. Again, we had a guest speaker come and talk to us during this visit, who's a geographer who teaches at the Paris University, which was really helpful. After sort of looking at how, say, plants and animals inhabit Paris, we moved on to thinking more broadly about infrastructure. And this Paris is also a great site to think about infrastructure. Again, last summer, there was a great exhibition about the development of the new Paris subway. And so that exhibition became a central sort of a component of our class, because we were able to sort of both see the exhibition, and at the same time, students were able to sort of discuss the exhibition further in their final papers. And it led to questions around both transportation justice, again, urban sustainability, and what the production of public transport means in Paris, and also how this shapes the city. So what kind of gentrification dynamics does it generate, or how does it change the way in which different populations inhabit different parts of Paris? Then we started talking about water, and we walked along the River Seine and discussed sort of how the river itself has been sort of a mode, a focus for the various administrators of Paris throughout the city's history. And as you can remember, last summer was the Olympics were taking place in Paris, so the water pollution in the Seine was such a central topic in the city, because everyone was trying to make claims about how the certain races would take place in the river. And there were many opposing parties saying that this is not going to be possible, etc. So we benefited from those broader conversations to also, and complemented those conversations with a historical perspective on how the rivers have been managed. And obviously you can think about how this brings us closer to Houston as well, because we're also sort of thinking about the management of the of water relations here, along with sea level rise and the impacts of climate change, etc. This was a really
Such a big talk last year, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So, and then this was a really another highlight of our class was a visit to the sewage museum and to learn about the Paris sewers. The students called it the Poop River, and they took a lot of selfies in front of it. But it was actually really fascinating, because we learned about how the imaginations of a circular economy had been implemented into the thinking in the construction of the sewage system from the point it was constructed in the 15th and 16th centuries onwards. And so we read about sort of current contemporary conceptions of the circular economy and how the sewage had been integrated into agricultural production since its conception in Paris and beyond. So that was also a really interesting session because we were both learning from, our previous experiences of having visited the transport exhibition and having sort of thought about the river, but now expanding this to connect it more with how multiple forms of infrastructure get connected to each other. So how does the sewage actually affect the way in which we eat, which might be such a automatic thing for us to think about. And one thing that's important to say is that in terms of the structure of the class is that for every class meeting, we had someone do a presentation on the readings and another person do a presentation on the excursion. And so we were able to sort of have a very kind of concise sense of what we were looking at or what kind of reading we were discussing. And also it allowed us to sort of see the connections between those two things very quickly in the beginning of the class and structure the conversation afterwards. And so I'm hoping to maintain that structure this summer as well. So I'm very interested in energy infrastructure. And so Paris and France more broadly is known for nuclear power, and the country has about 56 nuclear power plants. And we were able to visit one of the nuclear power plants near Paris during last summer's session. And you see some of the photographs from that visit in our advertising material now. And we read a book called The Radiance of France, which is a kind of science and technology studies classic that looks at the emergence of nuclear power in France in sort of accompanying that visit, which was, I think, really fascinating. And again, I'm really thankful to Camille for organizing this, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to repeat this again this summer, because perhaps even in a more extensive way, because we'll have more time to organize all the permissions and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then I guess the class ended with a larger sort of like a field trip to a more, a longer field trip, to a day-long field trip to the Royal Salt Works, which is a kind of like a utopian city project that was built in the east of France. So it took us about 3 hours to go there and then 3 hours back. But I think it was really an amazing experience to sort of see how these questions around urban sustainability have been asked in different ways, again, over the last 3-4 centuries. And in that site, we were able to see the relations between salt production and agricultural production and architecture. And I think it was a really great way for us to wrap up the class. So yeah, there's, I think, more to say, because there were more, smaller sort of questions that we asked about Paris and maybe other guests that we had. But this, I think, gives you a sense of the general structure of the class and introduces you to some of the things that will stay this summer.
Yeah. I know that all the students that took it last year really, really enjoyed how they were able to make these connections that it just, sometimes in the classroom is an abstract kind of idea, but they were able to go and see these locations and doing the presentations before classroom, and then kind of having that in mind as you go out into the city. I think is what makes this a unique opportunity for students. But do you have anything else you want to share about the course or anything else before I move on to the program itself?
We spent very little time in the building, I can say that. So we were mostly out and about and seeing things and meeting people and visiting places. So I think in that sense, it was, definitely a unique experience, something that we can't necessarily replicate here at Rice. Yeah.
Yep. Using Paris as the classroom is like our goal, I think, with this program.
Definitely.
Okay, and I'm just gonna switch over to more just program specific things. Share. So again, this will take you to that course web page. Just something to know about these programs is that this is Rice credit. It's not like study abroad. You register directly like you do any other class. So there's no transfer needed. Classes are in English with a Rice professor. And for this course, it's a 3-credit course. So you'll earn 3 credits in 3 weeks, basically. There is financial aid available for students that are eligible, as well as Rice Global has both tuition and travel awards available. And that's all you have to do is in your application that's right on the web page. When you apply, there's a question about needing tuition or travel assistance. Just fill out that information, and then that can help us with knowing how we can best help you with any Rice Global Awards. Because we do want to get all our students over there. Again, this session is session 4, so it's July 21st through August 8th. Classes are held, like Professor Gunnell said, both mostly in the city, but we do have a space for classroom in the Marais area in Paris, which is a very hopping area of Paris. There's a lot going on. It's a great location. So that's at the Rice Global Paris Center, which is a very historic building. For who can apply, it's open to any Rice undergraduate. There's no prerequisites to take this course, correct, Dr.
No.
Gunnell? Yeah. And just, this is a good course for students who are interested in how urban environments transform amid environmental challenges. So for tuition, the tuition cost is $1,800 per credit hour, and this is a 3 credit hour course. That provides housing for all 3 weeks. You basically have your own apartment. We have RAs on site for these for the housing. You get your own Metro card for all around Paris. All of these course excursions that you take are all going to be prearranged. Nothing, you don't need to pay for anything like that. And it's all part of the course. You have 3 group meals included in travel insurance. We're also working to see if there's anything else we can add on to that program of other items we can cover. And as that gets updated and approved, I'll update the website. So check back on the web page for any updates on that. As for financial aid, if you already receive financial aid, you're eligible to receive financial aid for up to 9 credit hours a summer for 2 summers at 50% the tuition rate. So that's part of what I work with financial aid with. If you get accepted into this course, when you get the acceptance letter, I will provide a letter with, if you have financial aid available, I'll tell you exactly how much you have. And then if you ask for any tuition or travel awards, I'll let you know how much of that was awarded to you by Rice Global. So you'll know as soon as you're accepted how much money you have available as far as awards and financial aid. So you can make a decision on if this is going to work. And like I said, additional assistance is provided by Rice Global. So the application deadline is January 31st, 2025. If you go to our webpage, so this was the course webpage. This will have all this information. Like I said, you can apply directly for this course right here, where it says apply here. And if you have questions, this will lead you to an email to email us at paracenter@rice.edu. And then the other thing that's really great is if you go up here to Paracenter to student programs, this has all the information you would want to know about this program. So this will take you back to this page that shows you all the different programs that are going to take place or courses taking place in 2025. We have an FAQs section that talks about, there's questions if you're a prospective student or admitted students for pre-departure. We have a whole section on that, or current students if they have questions after arriving in Paris. There's this Rice Global Paris travel guide. So if you get accepted into the course, you will get a link to this Canvas course, and it's like a really super detailed information travel guide about being in Paris and living in Paris and where you will live. And additionally, we do have the Student Life in Paris webpage that kind of tells you more like briefly, like the travel guide is this huge document, but this is a faster just site for you to take a look at. Shows you where you'll live. If you click play here, it'll show you kind of what the student apartments look like, also what the center looks like. And then just some tips about when you're in Paris, like some stuff to check out, etiquette, and some common phrases. So that is it for me. I don't know if Nicholas, I don't know if you have any questions for us.
Yeah, I don't have any at the moment, but
Okay.
thank you.
Sure. Well, feel free to send an email out to paracenter@rice.edu if anything does come up as far as questions. And if it's course related, I'll be happy to send that out to Dr. Gunnell. And then and anything else you may need, just feel free to reach out. And I'll post this recording up on our webpage. So tell your friends to take a look and they can learn more about the course that way as well. Okay.